Hope everybody is having a good day so far. Thanks for joining me. Thanks for interrupting your Sunday. And we're going to talk about the video that I posted this morning and anything else that's on your mind. So I guess we can go down the list and say howdy to everybody. We have Clem Gordon. We have, I'm going to try not to butcher your name here, Tony Palio, I think, Ron Owensby, Jeff over at Restorer 66. Let's see, we have Kurt Briegel. Did I pronounce it right this time? Thank you for the help on that. I hate butchering names. Let's see. Bob Heltebridal, poster of all things rude, crude, socially unacceptable, and just downright funny. Steve Nealon, over at Harneal Media, webmaster and web designer to the stars. Oh, man, just he's your man. So let's see, who else have we got here? We have Leo Steger, I believe I said. Richard Poland. Now I'm going to try this because I know you're from Quebec, and as I said before, your English is better than my French. Is that Richard Poulin? I don't know. Junior high school French left me many, many years ago. Stephen Toronto, Roger the Tinker, Ed Henry, Scott Ferncombe, Jim Pell, Gunnar Norum, the man from Oslo, Norway, David and Pam Foster, Dave Matthews, Robert Hodge, and Ronald Ledger, Dave Gatton, the man himself. I still don't know why he watches my videos. I can teach him absolutely nothing. He's the man. Okay, let's see. Yes, it is plugged in, Dave. And yes, I did pay the bill. Let's see. Michael Bell. I think I'm probably missed a couple people. Jim Pell, Carrie Van Every. Let's see. I.L. Peleg, Mervyn Schumacher over at Poppy's Woodshed, Gary Durrell, I believe that's right, Dewrell, Durrell, Craig, the Snow Crusher, Charlie Sexton, and yes, it is. Thank you, Richard. I appreciate that. Well, good morning to everybody. Hope you're having a great day. I did see that there were some questions up here at the top. First and foremost, I know, folks, you have emailed me and you're checking in here in the live Q&A for the first time. And I have got your emails. I know, Clem, I got your email. And I am in the middle of researching an answer because I don't want to give you the wrong answer. So give me a little bit of time here. I'm still working it. And let's see. Somebody else had a question down here who had sent me an email. I want to say that was Tony up above. Yes, Tony Palio. I did get your email. I just haven't had a chance to answer it yet. I will take care of that, though. Let's see. Now, I know there was a question about a kind of a side question about the video today. Jeff over there at Restore 66 wanted to know what the plunge rate of that 3/4 inch bit that I used in the demonstration video this morning, what plunge rate I use. As a rule of thumb, I set the plunge rate to half of my feed rate. Then I adjust from there just to see, after I see how it cuts. Now, the bit that I use, that 3/4 inch bit, is just a straight bit. It's not a upcut spiral, downcut spiral. It's just a straight mortising bit. So as such, it does not have a cutter all the way across the bottom of the bit. So it has to be ramped in. That's why I make it a point to specify that. Because if you try to just plunge straight down with no cutter across the bottom, it's going to bottom out and just start smoke and possibly damage everything. So it's got to ramp in slowly so it can cut away material as it gets down to depth. But generally speaking, I start at half of the feed rate and then I adjust from there. So let's see. Jim Hester, hey Mark, great video. Learned some new things about guidelines, linear arrays, and explanations of the features in the Fluting Toolpath. Were easier to understand than Vectric's videos. Thanks. I'll be honest with you, Jim. I appreciate that, first of all. I'll be honest with you. That's where I learned how to use these, is with the Vectric tutorials. I know that they have to cater to every skill level, and that's really difficult to do. But I use the Vectric tutorials as a guideline. I follow along and dive into it and use that as a stepping stone, get in and play with the options, because I can always just delete whatever I'm working on and start over. So, that's just the way I learn, is get in there, do it hands-on. Okay, Dave Gatton says, I'm buffering big time. I do apologize. There's really nothing I can do about it. Man, I hate this. I'm going to have to look into some other alternatives. Maybe I'll try StreamYard next week and we'll see how it goes. Okay, let's see. Dave and Pam Foster. Can data from a touch probe be edited well in Spire or VCarve Pro? I build mandolins and the archtops and backs and necks need to be carved from my originals that I did by hand. Basically, let's see, Javier Unzueta is the man to ask about that. He has done it with a digital probe. What you're doing when you use a digital probe is you're creating what they call a point cloud. It's reading the various points where the digital probe makes contact. Then it logs those points and makes a point cloud. Now, there are some plugins that you can use with Mach 3 that will work for converting that point cloud into something that Spire can read. But VCarve Pro and Spire will not just read that point cloud. It has to be converted into a format that VCarve and Spire can read. I haven't done any videos on it because I don't have a digital touch probe. Gunnar Norum, a gentleman out here in the chat right now, hooked me up with a couple of plugins where you can manually record points in Mach 3, then convert that to a format that VCarve and Spire can use. But it's all manual. I wouldn't even want to attempt to do what you want to do with this. It would be great for, in his demonstration to me, for creating a point cloud on an oddly shaped piece of material. But you wouldn't want to get too hot and heavy into something 3D with the manual method. So I'm going to refer you to Javier Unzueta. He's not in the chat right now. I haven't seen him. On YouTube, he goes by Javi's Woodshop. I'll put a link to his website in the description below of this video. So you can go to his website, use the Contact Us page to get a hold of him. But he is your man on that. So let's see. Let's see. Bob Helta Bridle, are you planning to do a video for the molding toolpath? Strange you asked that, Bob. I already have. I'll put a link to the molding toolpath video in the description. It's an intro video. I tend to do videos that show the basics. Let's see, mold toolpath. I'll put a link to that in the description box below. My videos tend to show the basics, then I kind of leave it up to you to take it further. But if you know the basic controls, you can do it. I mean, you can get in there and play around with it. But yeah, Bob, I did do a video on the molding toolpath already. So let's see. Matt Haas, awesome wood things. Also, all things YouTube. If you're interested in anything YouTube or all things YouTube, he's your man. Get over to Awesome Wood Things. He does some killer stuff. He's the busiest man on YouTube. I'm not kidding you. He's got probably million channels and million projects going at the same time, and just he's a guy to follow, and just genuinely a good guy. So, so let's see. Is there anything else going on here in the wonderful world of CNC land out here? Let me run back up and see, did I miss any question? Let's see. Yeah, we're back up here into where I was having problems. Well, major problems. Let's see. No, I'm not seeing any other questions. Nobody has any questions at all? Well, I'm going to let this run over a little bit just simply because, we got such a late start. It says here now that I've been live for 13:31. We'll see what happens. Roger the Tinker, Mark, tell the kids quit playing online games. The only problem with that is, Roger, we're a retired couple. Our kids have kids. Our grandkids are old enough to have kids. My youngest granddaughter turned 18 years old last year, and holy cow. Yeah, what can I say? In this coming up Wednesday, my wife and I celebrate our 32nd anniversary. So I'm not as young as some folks think I am. So, yeah, that buffering error keeps coming and going. I'm going to have to get in and tweak my settings. I guess it just doesn't like trying to run at full 1080p. So, I'm going to have to back it down. Somebody earlier mentioned that they got into the settings on the YouTube video and dropped it down to like 480p. I don't like that personally. I guess if you're watching on a handheld device, it wouldn't mean a whole heck of a lot. But they said when they dropped the quality down to like 480, the buffering went completely away. I need to get in and change my bit rate, I have a feeling. So let's see. Scott Ferncombe says, I'm not sure if this is a generic issue or a program issue, but I was using easel the other day. The carves came out wrong. One came out backwards when the others didn't, using the same code each time. I'm not going to pick on easel. The snarkier side of me says easel is the problem. The not so snarky side says go to easel's website and get into their support forum and ask your easel specific questions over there. Almost all of these software and hardware manufacturers have a support forum. And the way support forums work is there may be one or two employees of the company as members over there, but the overwhelming majority of their members are just users like you and me. And these are folks who just like to hang out in that forum, swap tips and tricks, and just generally help out folks that are having a problem. I would definitely go over and look in their support forum and join the support forum and ask any questions you have over there. So I'm seeing some congratulations. Thank you very much, guys. I do appreciate that. Let's see. Jeff over at Restore 66. Is that 3/4 inch bit you used a 1/4 inch shank? Yes, the one I'm using is 1/4 inch shank, but generally speaking, I kind of prefer to get 1/2 inch shank on bits that large. So, what can I say to that? It is a 1/4 inch shank. In fact, this is just a El Cheapo skill bit. I'll go ahead and put a link to it in the description of this video. It's just a straight mortising bit that I got from Home Depot or something like that. Uh, just about any router bit without a bearing on it can be used on a CNC. Not all of them, but just about all of them. If you ramp in your plunge moves. So, Kurt Briegel, not a question, but a request now and again. Take your training and maybe video it running on the CNC. You could speed it up to show on YouTube. I like seeing real time. I've done projects in the past where I've done exactly that, and there will be more of those coming. It's just right now I have a hard time getting outside because of weather and actually getting any projects done. Where I live, I'm in Southern Oregon. It is raining like a son of a gun here most of the winter time, and as such, it's just super humid out there. So I have to spend a lot of time trying to prepare for it, get out on a nice day, get it cut, and then get back in. So, what can I say? But I will do more and more projects. In fact, I've got 2 videos recorded of a project that I've been working on for a while, and I just am waiting for weather so I can get it painted and finished. So, I've got a project video coming. I just got to get there. I just got to get it finished. So, let's see. Joe Baranti, Mark, I do a lot of 3D STL carvings and have had some really good success, except for any that have text. The 3D image comes out very good, but the text has ramps in or out, bit grooves. Is there a cure? Maybe, Joe. I don't know if you're using the Vectric software or not. Oh, yes, you did. You said down below you're using Ventricle VCarve Pro. Good old autocorrect. If you are projecting the VCarve file onto 3D model, down close to the bottom of the VCarve Toolpath form, there's a checkbox that says project onto 3D model. And that should take care of it. If you are already using that, go into material setup. Let me show you here. I'll do a screen share. And we'll go into, I should have gone into a Spire first. When you first go over to your Toolpath tab, you have material setup here. If you're still getting lead in, click on that. Let me cancel. Click on this set button. And check your Safe Z clearance. Your Z rapids here. Okay? Your bit needs to be able to lift up out of there to move around. Check these. It's probably not this. It's more than likely, well, let's just do here a VCarve toolpath. Right here, project toolpath onto 3D model. You'll want to check that box. Then you don't have to enter a start depth. But if you're using a flap depth, you'll enter it from here. The toolpath will calculate automatically projecting that text down onto the model. So I'm not going to calculate a toolpath here, so I'll get away from that. And we'll go back out to here. I don't know if that helps you or not there, Joe, but that's... Let's see. Jeff, Restorer 66. Mark, is the Cobra file something that can be made and sold or not? That Jeff, yes, it can be made and sold. That is the entire point of making sure to point out that that was a public domain design. Now, having said that, the name Cobra possibly trademarked. I don't know that. I really don't know that. And I don't know who would own that trademark. The body was made by AC. They were put together and sold by Ford and Carroll Shelby. I don't know who you would contact about that name. The design in and of itself is public domain. The name, the text that I added, I'm kind of taking a chance on that. While we're on that subject, let me bring up Spire. No, I talked about that last live video. If you're thinking about cutting that Cobra file, I'll put a link in the description box below to last week's live Q&A where I talked about it. I missed some of the vectors because as it turns, well, just go back and watch that live stream. I talk about it at the very beginning. So I will put a link to the last week's live Q&A. So you'll be able to get that taken care of. But yes, so far as I know, the Cobra file itself, the outline of the vehicle, it's public domain, can be made and sold. So Clem Gordon wants to know, Mark, I use VCarve Pro 10. Is it worth moving up to Spire? You are the best judge of that. It depends. It depends on your priority. If you are going to create, meaning draw your own 3D models, create your own 3D models, then yes, it's worth it. If you're not, if the majority of what you do is V-carving and the occasional carving a 3D model, then it may not be worth it to you. You're the best judge of that. If you're creating if you want to create your own 3D models, yes, it's worth it. If you're not creating your own 3D models, it may or may not be. To be honest with you, probably about 95% of what I do, I could do with VCarve and not have to worry at all about the expense of upgrading to Spire. Having said that, there are some things in Spire that are very nice to have as far as editing a model if you want to change an angle or something of that nature. There are some nice, there's some nice little perks that come along with having a Spire. Is it necessary? Strictly speaking, no. But, so there is that. Let's see, eCabinet tips and tricks. I watched your video on tracing bitmaps. Very helpful. Thank you. Do you have any tips on using color digital photos for tracing? Other than what I mentioned in the video, the first thing I would suggest is use a photo editing program to convert to grayscale. Decide what you are actually going to want to trace. Try to eliminate as much background that you're not going to trace as you can. And remember that not all photographs are good candidates for bitmap tracing. I mean, I know that sounds like a cop-out, but it's simply put, that's just the way it is. Not all photographs are good candidates for bitmap tracing. I tend to go over to convert to grayscale so that I'm dealing with fewer colors because VCarve and Aspire only let you, I think they only let you break it down to 16 colors. So by converting to grayscale, it's much easier. Then even within VCarve and Aspire, above version, I believe 9.5 and up, they include a photo editor in there where you can adjust basic things like brightness, contrast, gamma, Personally, I prefer to do that in a photo editing program. Then I save it as a PNG file, higher resolution as I can. And also, I tend to save them in 300 DPI or higher. Now, there are a couple of photographers who will argue with me about that, but I find I get much better results with a higher DPI photo. Standard, I believe, is 60 or 70 DPI, 75 DPI. I tend to, when I'm scanning in something, I scan at 300 DPI, and when I save an image, I save it at 300 DPI or higher, just depending upon the size of the original photograph. So, hope that helps. So, let's see. I see that I'm my little example screen over here in the control room, I've been buffering, so I hope that made some sense. So, let's see. Roger the Tinker, any word cannot be trademarked, but the style can be of that one. Okay, yes, you're right about that. A font can be trademarked, like you can't trademark the word the. But you can make the word the part of your trademark, but you can't trademark that word. But that's why you get spellings like a product called Nuclean, Nukleen. They can trademark that, but they can't trademark something like you couldn't trademark the word, your name, Fred, Roger, George. You can't trademark that. So, let's see. David and Pam Foster, any experience with Fusion 360 versus Rhino? Very little. And the reason for that is, number one, lack of training. Number two, steeper learning curve. I did attempt to learn Rhino. I played around with Fusion 360 a little bit. For what I do, and this is something that I do get asked a lot, it involves what you're going to do with your CNC. For what I do, Fusion 360 is like taking a thumbtack to hang a poster and using a 5-pound sledge to drive that thumbtack in. Fusion 360 is a huge hammer. It's a very good program. It's just too much for what I need to do. So as a consequence, I never bothered getting into it. Rhino is much the same. Rhino also, you're not saving a whole lot of money going with Rhino versus Spire. Now, don't get me wrong. Rhino is a different type of 3D modeling program. It doesn't use pixels and depth maps, etc. It uses NURBS. It's a NURBS-based program. And that NURBS, N-U-R-B-S, that's a acronym, non-uniform, rational. Nah, I don't remember. But polyspline or something like that. I don't remember. But it's a completely different type of 3D modeling. Unless you have Rhino Cam as well as Rhino, you're not going to... you'll be able to create STL files and import them into another program, but you're not really saving anything. And it's a lot more technical, a lot more complicated. If you have experience with AutoCAD or a CAD type of program, Rhino has a very similar interface in that you not only have icons and menus, but you also have a command line, so you can do typewritten text commands like copy, close, open, what have you, different tools that way. And the syntax, the language is much the same as something like AutoCAD. Not 100%, but very close. But Fusion 360, I never got into it. I took a couple of classes for SolidWorks, decided it's more of a hammer than I need as well. It just didn't suit what I'm doing. So I didn't bother with them and just focused on VCarve, then later Aspire, and never looked back. So, hope that answers your question. Excuse me. Percy Kuka, how you doing today? If I'm doing multiple cuts as per design on a 20mm board using a 6mm bit, can I do a step down of 2.5 instead of 1D so the cut completes with 8 passes and I can avoid tabs? Anytime